Well, good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. With less than 3 weeks to go until the midterm elections, violence is flaring up again. Republicans in both Minnesota and the state of Nevada have been assaulted, in effect punished for violating the unwritten law, thou shalt not oppose efforts of the left to gain power. Trace Gallagher has more on this developing story for us tonight. Trace?
Tucker, in Minnesota, there were two separate incidents. First, state GOP Representative Sarah Anderson says she confronted a man for kicking down her campaign sign, and the man didn't like it. Watch.
He comes charging at me and then gets between me and the car door, so I couldn't shut the car door. And I didn't want to I froze, basically.
That's when she says the man punched her, calling her an anarchist and saying she should kill herself. Then, first-time candidate Shane Mecklin says he was at a restaurant in Benton County, Minnesota, talking about campaign issues when he was blindsided. Listen.
This gal over here asked me something, and I was talking to her, and that's when this gentleman literally just punched me out of nowhere.
Yeah, Mecklin says he blacked out when he hit the ground, and medical records show he suffered a concussion. Police are investigating both attacks. Meantime, another threat against Maine GOP Senator Susan Collins, who of course cast the key vote for Justice Brett Kavanaugh. This time a letter was sent to Collins' home, addressed to her husband, claiming it contained the deadly poison ricin. Parts of Collins' home and her dog are now in quarantine while a crime lab checks out the letter. A GOP candidate running for Vermont state legislator also got a threatening letter reminiscent of a mystery novel. The letter to Desiree Morin was made up of words pulled out of printed material to spell, quoting here, "We are hunting you. My comrades will kill you and the Constitution. Socialism is here. Open season for Republican death in Vermont." Morin says her platform of low taxes and small government apparently makes socialists want to kill her. Finally, it's gloves off in the Nevada governor's race. A Democratic operative for a group funded by George Soros is in jail tonight after allegedly assaulting the female campaign manager of the GOP candidate. Kristen Davidson says the attack left her traumatized and horrified. Tucker.
Trace Gallagher for us tonight. Thank you, Trace. Well, you'd think that violence, physical attacks, and threats in our political system would shock all of us. But at this point, unfortunately, nobody is really surprised. It almost seems normal. It was just last year that a progressive activist tried to murder an entire field of Republican lawmakers practicing baseball. He gravely wounded one of them. Strangely, you didn't hear calls for gun control in the days after that happened. And at this point, we've practically forgotten it ever happened at all. And so the cycle has accelerated. Using force against Republican office holders and conservatives now seems like a feature of our political landscape.
We believe survivors. Beto is way hotter than you do. We believe survivors. We believe survivors. Shame! 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 No borders! No walls! Sanctuary for all! If kids don't eat in peace, you don't eat in peace!
So what is this really about? Suddenly this kind of rage is everywhere. You've seen tape like that for the past several months. But who exactly is it aimed at? What is the point? Well, Republicans obviously are the focus of most of it, conservatives more generally, anyone else who dissents from the one true faith of cultural leftism. But really the target is the country itself. The left is angry at America. They say so all the time. This is not the Democratic Party you grew up in or that you remember if you're over 30. That party may have stood for some bad ideas, and it did, but there was never really a question about its fundamental loyalty to America or the people who live here. The party of FDR and LBJ, even of Bill Clinton, was basically a patriotic party. It was an American party. Not anymore. In 2018, anyone who considers America a distinct physical place with meaningful borders and its own history and traditions and language and culture and values won't feel comfortable in the Democratic Party, indeed may not even be allowed in that party. To modern Democrats, the leaders of the party, America is an economy with land attached. It's a massive private equity scheme from which they are benefiting. Its people are interchangeable human widgets to be discarded and replaced when their usefulness expires. Was it always this way? Was this always what America was like, you might ask? Shut up, they'll explain. Before Obama got elected, America was truly a horrible place, a nightmare. Watch New York Governor Andrew Cuomo explain.
We're not going to make America great again. It was never that great.
It was never that great, said the guy who inherited his job from his dad. Cuomo's remarks got some coverage on this channel, but they were hardly unusual for Cuomo's party. Before she founded the #MeSue movement, Senator Elizabeth Warren spent a lot of time telling audiences what an awful country this is. Here's one example.
The hard truth about our criminal justice system. It's racist. And when I say our system, I mean all the way. I mean front to back.
Racist front to back. In other words, our laws and our police are illegitimate and they're immoral. Don't worry about violating or ignoring them. Texas Senate candidate Robert Beto O'Rourke agrees with this. He recently told a crowd that police in America murder and imprison people solely because of their skin color. Now, that's factually untrue. It's ridiculous, and of course, he didn't even try to prove it was true. But it's also a slur on decent people of all colors who are trying their best to serve this country in law enforcement. O'Rourke's fellow Democrats could have said something about this, but they didn't. They're not allowed to. Nobody is. Defend America, and you will be punished. Former Congresswoman Mary Bono lost her job just this week as president of USA Gymnastics. What did she do wrong? Well, she leveled a veiled criticism at Colin Kaepernick. That's unacceptable now. Kaepernick makes millions denigrating our national symbols. He's a hero. Nike hired him. If you complain about that, though, you're the villain and you're out. Defending America is suddenly a firing offense on the left. Mark Salvis learned this the hard way. Salvis wasn't simply a loyal Democrat. He was the head of the Allegheny County, Pennsylvania Democratic Party, also a military veteran. You'd think he'd be allowed to stick up for America once in a while, but no. He made the mistake of writing this in a Facebook post, quote, "I stand for the flag, I kneel at the cross." Now, not so long ago, most Democrats would have nodded in agreement at that. Today, it's hate speech, and he lost his job. But tonight, their loss is our gain, and Mark Salvis joins us now. Mark, thanks a lot for coming on the show. Did I misstate that? I mean, did you have to leave your job running the county's Democratic Party because of those words on Facebook?
Well, I was the executive director of the county party. And yes, basically that's exactly what happened because of that post, which I remind you was over a year ago that I posted that. I was asked to resign, yes.
So you're a veteran, you say you stand for the flag, and you were denounced as a racist for that.
Correct. The people who brought this to light tried to tie it to the NFL players taking a knee.
So I'm confused. I'm not a Democratic voter, never have been, but you know, I've been here a long time, known a lot of decent patriotic Democrats. It doesn't seem like that long ago it wouldn't have been weird for the head of a Pennsylvania Democratic County party to say, "I stand for the flag and kneel before the cross." Would it have been 5 years ago a crazy thing to say?
Absolutely not. And I can tell you that even just last year, when the Pittsburgh Steelers decided to stay in the locker room instead of come out for the national anthem, one player, Villanueva, who's an Army Ranger, came out and stood by himself with his hand over his heart. And he was not considered a racist. So this, even as much as a year ago, it would not have been unheard of to hear somebody, a leader in the party, defend the flag.
So what, I mean, you're the executive director, were the executive director of the party. You obviously know a lot of Democrats in your county, a traditionally Democratic county. What have your former coworkers said to you since this happened?
I haven't heard from any of them. I understand the party line is that it is a personnel matter, and I can respect that. However, those that are elected officials or party members who are not tied with my direct sort of chain of command, if you will, I have not heard from any of them.
That's shocking. What does this say to you about how the party's changed?
Well, it makes me wonder if there is room for moderate Democrats in the Democratic Party nowadays. There were some elected officials who said that they acknowledge that they've known me and I'm not a racist. However, it was insensitive. And unfortunately, if my patriotism and standing up for family friends has become insensitive, then I think we as Democrats need to stop and reevaluate exactly what we stand for.
If standing up for the flag is considered racist, then what happens to the country, do you think, going forward?
That's a good question. I'm a little worried about that.
What are you going to do?
Well, I'd like to continue to bring this to light and continue to voice concern for this very issue. And then in the short term, ironically, my son is going in the Air Force in 60 days, so I'm going to spend some time with him. And I will continue to fight this cause as long as I can and continue to clear my name.
God bless. And let me just say, again, I'm not a supporter of the Democratic Party, but I hope you stay in that party because I think it needs normal people. And so,
Thank you.
I hope you remain. Mark, thanks very much for sharing. That's a shocking story. Appreciate it.
Thank you.